Welcome to the future, you guys. Is today Thursday? Happy Thursday to everybody. A very common question that we get from our audience is, how do I get work? Now, you can focus on sales, inbound and outbound marketing, things that we talk about all the time, or you could be so fortunate to have an amazing sales rep. What is a rep? What do they do? How do they do what they do? These are things that we're going to be talking about with our guest in the studio today. Her name is Andrea Stern. Her company is called SternRep. You guys can go to SternRep.com. We're going to talk to her. We're going to look at some of the artists that she represents, and we're going to get into all the challenges facing photographers today. So stay tuned for that. Roll the titles! All right, we're back, guys. Welcome back. Hopefully you guys can hear us okay. We've been having some technical difficulties, so let us know. Molly's in the house, Mark is in the house, as well as Erica, and they'll be watching and reading your comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Let's just get right to it. Andrea Stern is in the house today, and here are a couple of things that I know about Andrea. One, she went to the Brooks Institute and quickly discovered that photography was not for her. And her story about how she became a rep is really interesting. I'm going to ask her about that. She's been working as a photographer's rep for over 20 years. She represents photographers in the space for product, automotive, and lifestyle. And her roster currently today stands at 4 photographers and 1 retoucher or retouching studio. First up is Brian Garland. And here's some of the work that he's done. Some really beautiful, amazing automotive work, as well as some, well, there's other stuff that you guys can go check out. I'm sorry. And then there's Paul Barchon. I hope I said that correctly. Andrea, did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
All right. I'm a quick learner, right? Here's some of his work. Just gorgeous work. More automotive. And then this jumped out at me. The motorcycle.
Triumph.
Triumph. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And then some lifestyle stuff mixed in here with the automotive work. Is this for Hyundai?
Hyundai, Genesis.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
And then there's Jeff Stockwell. Look at the composition, the lighting, you guys. If you guys ever get to this level, chances are you probably will have a rep at this point. But there's some lifestyle stuff mixed in here. Is this also for Triumph?
That was a test.
Test, okay.
Which is a huge topic we should talk about today.
Okay, we will. I'm going to make a note of that test, okay? And next up, and the reason why I think we're talking is because of my good friend Toby Peterson.
That's right.
He's an amazing photographer, and he shoots a lot of still life. Amazing, just incredible amount of work. I know how hardworking he is, and he's got an incredible eye, great taste and style. And for full disclosure, I am friends with Toby. We went to school together. And his wife used to work for us, Vanessa.
I've been hearing about you for years. It's all good stuff.
It took us this long to get together. So here we go. And then last but not least is Cast Studios, their photo retouching studio. And maybe you can talk a little bit later about what a photo retouching studio does. And these images that we think are just captured in camera are actually labors of love, right?
Well, labors of love. What do you mean?
In terms of like I know when I talk to Toby, it's like he's shooting things and there's a bunch of different images that then shadows get removed, reflections get added or taken out. There's so much work that goes into these beauty shots.
And it's often not shot in one shot. It's strips that they compose together.
Okay, so now that you've heard her voice, let's just find out who she is and what does a photographer's rep do?
That's a great question. A photographer's rep, and I can't speak for all reps. I'm one rep. We are the voice for the photographer. We negotiate fees. We handle the managing of their portfolio, and we talk about where the marketing direction is going. We're basically the voice for them out to the world. But that has changed a bit because nowadays with social media, the photographer is also very out for themselves, and we can talk about that. That's a big topic.
Social media. So can you boil it down? Because there's a lot of people watching this in all parts of the world that have no idea what this is. And I'm kind of in the business, so I know a little bit about it because we have reps ourselves. But the way photographers' reps work is very different than the way our rep works. And so I'd like to find out a little bit more about kind of a typical case about how you work with your artists.
Well, it depends on them. I mean, everyone's different. The other thing I want to throw out here today is I work in the ad agency world, commercial advertising. There's other types of reps. So that's the one I know about. So I'll be talking about that. There's also editorial and many other types. So a photographer needs a rep really when they start working because we negotiate for them. The one biggest part is not to talk money. I'm the one that talks money. Even if a photographer is asked to add shots for the shoot, they're supposed to say, I'd love to, but you have to talk to my rep. It kind of makes me the bad guy in a good way. So the photographer doesn't have to be the bad guy.
Right. So here's the dilemma then. So I'm a young person, and I think my photography is pretty good, but I can't get any real leads. And I'd love to work on advertising on these big brands that we just saw. How do I go about getting a rep, and then how does this whole process work? And what do you look for in terms of people to work with?
The best way to get a rep is to have great work because you'll be found. There's so many ways that people find you and want to hire the photographer, and then you get to meet the people in the business, and then the communication starts. And that's actually how I found Toby. I put it out there to an art producer at Deutsch at the time, ad agency in LA. And I said, do you know any product photographers or any up and coming photographers? She said, oh my God, yes, Toby Peterson. I went and looked him up immediately and met with him, and we started working together 15 years ago. And that's really, it's relationships. It's how you meet people. You put it out there. So really just get your work out there. It's kind of simple in that way.
Okay, so what was it about Toby's portfolio or him as a person that attracted you to him and made you think this guy I can go and sell and get work for, and this is going to be a good relationship?
His work at the time, I don't know if you remember this, Chris, but it was like mannequins and what else? It looked like fake people with weird stuff. It was really strange. And for some reason, I just knew, especially because it came with this recommendation from Deutsch, that he's great. That helps a lot, a recommendation. And then I met him, and I just saw through his work, more than his personable self, he's fantastic. And then included in that is we got along great. And trust, I just had a trust for him. But we communicated, and as I saw this is going to get money. This is marketable.
Okay, so I have so many questions for you now then. So Toby didn't have a rep at that time, right?
Right.
So how did he get work with Deutsch?
Good question.
And then was he hesitant or reluctant at first? It was like, I'm getting work and I'm making 100% of that. So I'm just giving you the best possible platform for you to kind of explain to people what you do, because it's remarkably different than my experiences with different reps.
There's two parts here. One is what it used to be like and how important a rep was. We were the only way for a person like Toby to get out there. There was internet, but there wasn't much else. There was no social media at the time.
Right.
So he needed a rep. That was not a question. And also at Deutsch, he was like the, what do you call it? The person that would do smaller stuff for them. They need something on white on a table. They'd use him. It was kind of like their in-house guy in a way. At the time, that wasn't official, but those were his jobs, the smaller jobs. So he needed someone to come in and charge more and ask for more and put the bid together and talk about the marketing and where's he going with his portfolio. Do you know any digitechs? Do you know assistants, prop stylists? Like, to kind of get the overall plan going. He was just starting at the time. But today, should we jump on today?
Sure.
It's really different. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with ad agencies, reps. I feel like we have a different position now because photographers have to be really involved in a way they did not before. I'm not just the voice. They have to be the voice too, because without Instagram, without hashtags, I remember this thing. We worked with this art producer, and she told me they had a client meeting. They were looking for, let's say, a dark and moody portrait shooter. She at the meeting under the table with her phone looking up hashtags, dark, moody, portrait. She was coming up with photographers through hashtags at the time. Like, this is today's world.
Yes.
So photographers have to shift, reps have to shift, And that's where I feel like we're at right now. We're all like, oh my God, what's going on? How do we do this? And we're discovering that's where we are at this moment.
So it sounds to me like technology has made it easier for artists to find clients and clients to find artists.
Yes.
And I want to share a story with you just real quick. There's a guy who used to work for me. He's a photographer, and he started posting and building a decent following on Instagram. He's probably up to like 40, 50,000 people now. And Apple found one of his images that he took with his iPhone, and they wanted to use it for a billboard. So then he came and asked me, Chris, how much should I negotiate this image for? What's going to happen? And being that he's a rookie at negotiating for his images, he probably could have done better for himself. And so how would somebody like that say, okay, look, I have an opportunity to work with Apple. Should they reach out to a rep and have you step in and help out? Or do you have any advice on this or thoughts?
Yeah. I think reps have always kind of done that, and we've always offered that. I shouldn't speak for every rep. I'll speak for myself. But now I'm doing it more, so much more, because inexperienced photographers are getting jobs, just like your story there. It's not the structure it used to be. Now people who really don't know the business are needing a rep sometimes. Just this morning I did a bid for a photographer. Yesterday I did another one. Photographers come to me, they need to bid something. I feel good about the photographer. Why not, help them? And I make a commission on it.
Right. So let's talk about commissions then.
Yep.
How do you structure fees? How does this work?
The temp repping depends on the situation, but the normal rate is 25%.
Okay.
I have heard of 30%. I don't know if that's true. I've never done that, but 25% is the norm of the fees, just the fees, not the expenses.
Okay, so if it's $100,000, or can we use real numbers in something so people have some idea?
Sure.
Since you're a commercial, like advertising rep, what are some typical fees for, like, say, a one-day shoot, a product still life?
It always depends on usage, and this is another topic we should talk about. That's a big topic. But usage, how many shots, how creative it is, I think that's why it's called a creative fee, not just a day rate. It used to be per shot. It's no longer that, in my experience. Day rates can go between $2,500 to $20,000.
Okay.
That's some good money.
Yeah, it's good money. It's I gotta say though, nowadays it's going down a little bit.
Right.
It's not as good as it was.
Right. Let's just pretend like everything is great, and we'll stay there.
Okay, I'd
All right?
like that.
We'll stay there, and then we will talk about the challenges, because I want to try to keep this segmented so that we can talk about, like, the dream and then the nightmare, possibly. Who knows?
Okay.
And so the dream is I'm a photographer, and I can make somewhere on a day rate $2,500 to $25,000. But then you also talked about usage, and so how might that impact the creative fees altogether?
If the usage is big, the money should be big too, because the photographer's usage is based on their image, how many people are seeing it. It's kind of simple in that way. It used to be, when it was internet, called digital, it was small. Now that's a bit bigger. But if they can get more specific, like not full buyout, they often call it, or buying the copyright, or unlimited usage. But if they can say 1 year print or 1 year social media, the more fine-tuned they can get like that, the smaller we feel, in general, us, that we can bring down our creative fee, day rate.
Okay, so if the usage is very limited and the time in which they're using it for is limited, then relatively speaking, the fees will be a little bit lower. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, on the far right there, if they want a buyout exclusive usage, they want to just own the image, then the price is going to be very high, I assume, right?
Right. And it's also where? Worldwide, it's
Okay.
often called global.
Okay.
And nowadays with internet, you can't say just California.
Right.
But if it's print or something else, it's where is it going?
Okay, so if it's, say, a national buy for 1 year and one image, what might that be in terms of creative fees for one of your top tier guys?
I mean, it's a great question, and I wish I could pretend there's like an answer. But honestly, it depends. It depends who the client is. Are they a big client? Is it a tiny client? Or do they have a big agency? They probably pay a little more. Is it client direct? So I can give you a number, and let's say, what did you say? 1 year national?
1 year national for a decent, like a good client, like a big client, like a Fortune 5,000, 1,000 company.
a 1-year national, what? Unlimited?
Print.
Print.
You tell me. I'm a
People
kid.
say advertising. I see. It has
Like
to get so specific. I would say 6,000, 7,000.
Okay.
Hmm?
And then if it were the same exact situation, but it was global for 1 year, how might that impact the price?
I would try to go up, and again, and to me, this is negotiation. I try to get a feel of the client, because some clients, we're talking a lot less, and some a lot more. I wish I could be more helpful in this, and I wish there was answers, but I don't think there is. But I'm going to try here.
Yes.
We make it global. It's going to go up 3,000.
Okay, so it went from 6K to 9K for a single image. Now, okay, basically...
Oh, not a single image, a day.
A day, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, some of our audience really struggle with this concept that they struggle with the idea of ethics or in the work, and they measure their energy, how much time they spend on something, and they price according to that. And they don't price according to the client or the usage or how much value it is to the client. So you are speaking my language right now, but I'd like to kind of dive into this a little bit deeper with you. What you're doing right now is you're assessing the value of the image based on how it's going to be used, not what was used to make it. It has no bearing, I think,
I got to
right?
change that. No,
Okay, go ahead.
it isn't effective, and that's why it's a creative fee.
Okay.
It's based on how unique, like they need that specific photographer, that only they can do that. You're going to be able to charge more. But if it's something simple, I should say, that 10 other 300 other photographers could do, you're going to charge less.
Okay. So it's relative to how unique the image is to that photographer.
Yes.
I get that. And then, so this is why it's very complex, right? That's why it's
Right.
not easy for me to just like, oh, it's this price. But I guess the heart of the issue is why can you justify that one image, the same effort, let's say, from the same photographer can be drastically different from client to client? How do you help our audience understand this? Now, I'm on your side here, so I'm trying to set you up for the home run here, but I don't know if I'm doing a good job.
Do you mean one client be same usage, same kind of shot, but less money than another?
No, let me just... okay, so like say I'm Toby, because I do know Toby. I'm trying not to say anything that I shouldn't be saying, because I do know his business quite well, right?
Yes.
So Toby's going to send me an angry email after this if I
He's shooting
screw
today,
this
so
up.
he won't see it.
Okay. He's not on social media anyway, so we won't worry about that. But his ears might be burning. So if I'm Toby and I set up a still life thing, like say a bottle,
Okay.
like a liquid thing, right? Not a pour, but just like a beauty shot for a bottle.
Yes. That's
Why-
funny because that's what he's shooting today.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Why can he charge a different price depending on who's walking in the door and what they're asking for, even though it's essentially a bottle shoot?
Well, that's part of what makes this is who's the client? What budget do they have? And again, that's where I feel like I come across in an important way is to negotiate, find out what do they have? I mean, it's kind of a simple question. And the other hard part of that is clients are not going to tell you what they have. So there's ways to ask questions to get the answer.
Can you share some of those tips with us, please?
Yeah. Actually happened this morning, and I did.
I'm sure it happens every day
All the
for
time.
you, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I can say it honestly, is I said to the client in an email, and someone out there watching might be seeing this,
It's okay.
I said, okay, so this sounds like you'd have like between 10 and 15 grand. And I ask it as a question. And I knew that honestly would be a little high. My goal is for them to say, oh, no, that's a little high. So that gives us information.
Right. Okay, so what you guys are doing, and our audience is a very educated, sophisticated kind of creative entrepreneur. What we're talking about is your price bracketing, and you're anchoring high to get a feel for
Yes.
how they might respond. And your job is always to anchor high because you want them to talk you down versus shooting too low.
Absolutely.
And this is the value that you provide to your clients, to your photographers, because somebody might go in there and undersell it. So where my buddy sold his image to Apple for very low money, in my opinion, for a billboard, worldwide usage, he could have benefited by having somebody like you. So I don't want you guys to sit there and think, I have to pay somebody else 25% of the creative fees when you probably are on likelihood getting 4, 5, 10 times as much as you probably could get on your own.
That's right.
So 25% seems like a bargain to me.
It's like 25% of what?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like hiring a lawyer.
Yeah, you can get more
In a way.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Is there more to that analogy, Mark? It's like you just said, it's like hiring a
I
lawyer.
mean, yeah, hiring a lawyer, if you
Right.
have legal things going on, they could help you increase your bottom line. So
Right.
And protect you. I
situation.
think that's a big part of repping too.
Right.
My dad's a lawyer, so it reminds me of this and how he works is to protect the photographer. Oh my God, there's that whole spot on the estimate for description of job. So important. How many hours? No overtime's included. What if something changes? This bid is based on the PDF of the layouts that we've received. If something changes, who's covering it? That kind of stuff. What are you shooting? Is it on white? Is there an environment behind it? Like apples to apples. We got to get clear with each other. So that paragraph of description is so important to protect. And I feel like that's my job too. Protect the photographer.
You're an ally to the artist, really, is what you are.
Yeah.
I like that.
I want to be their voice. I'm here. That's my job. Keep them in front of people and speak for them and protect them.
I like that. Is that on your website?
No. I gotta write that down sometime.
that'd be a good thing to add there.
You know, it's like I don't know if we're recording this, but yeah, no, you could refer to this later. This will be great. So, I guess I have some more questions here in terms of. Well, for some of you guys that are watching, is trying to understand this. You can have a lot or all of something very small, or have a smaller part of something much bigger, and the smaller part is just 75% of something much bigger. And I think this is where a lot of creative people are going to look at you like a guardian angel. You talked about writing clear descriptions, and in what we call it, just like the scope of work document, to make sure it's well defined, because in the gray area, some clients can take advantage of you. And you're talking about that. You talk about change orders, like if the scope grows, the artist has a friend like on the Batmobile, or the Bat line, just calling you up and saying, Andrea, it's starting to get bigger. Talk to my rep. And then you can go in and say, okay, here's what we negotiated for. Now you're changing it. So now you're going to go get more money for the artist, right?
Yes. And I actually just thought of a story because I work mostly with ad agencies. Now some client direct as well, but mostly ad agencies. They have a system where they protect us. I feel like we're just a team, photographers and creatives and art producers. They know our business. We know their business. We're into this together. I was on a job. I was sitting with the creative, and art producer, and Toby was over there shooting. And the creative said to the other creative, "Oh, let's also shoot it this way." Oh, yeah. And the other guy says to the other guy, "Yeah, let's add 2 more shots and shoot it that way." Okay. And then the art director looks at the art producer right there, and he says to her, "Oh, yeah, so we want to add that." She says, "Oh, okay." And then she texts me or emails me, and I'm sitting across the table from her.
Okay.
And she said, "Okay, so how much to add those 2 shots?"
Right.
Like it's such a weird system, and that's why I suggest assisting. If you don't know these things, you got to know when you can speak. Who do you speak to? What's your role? Do you stay in front of people? Do you ask even people, how are they? Can I get you some water? There's rules and a system. So the art producer asks me that, and then we work it out, and I get up and I go talk to Toby and talk about, can you add this? Will it add any costs? Will we need to get dinner for the night? Any overtime? How much time will it take you? How much for retouching? And then I have to call Kaz. How much is that going to... So it's not something that just happens at the table in front of everyone.
So here's what I'm thinking. I can imagine that there are some people in our audience where they're going to earn somewhere between $5,000 to $9,000 a year in parts of the world, and you're talking about $5,000 to $9,000 for a day's rate, right? And so they're sitting there thinking, "Oh my gosh, how do I get a rep like you? How do I get your attention? What are some tips or advice?" I know you have a very limited roster. You only have 5 companies or people out right now. And so there's a lot more photographers and creative people out in the world, and fewer Andreas in the world. Good for you, bad for them. How do I get the attention of somebody like you to help me? And you sound like the answer to all my prayers.
Well, there's no one answer to this, because I'm sure you ask 20 successful photographers, how did you get where you are? You're going to hear 20 stories. So I'll tell you the ways that I know of, and I've seen there are great, right now, there's some great like blog type of things. Wonderful Machine, a photo editor, AdEdge has it, Yodalist has it. I know I'm forgetting some, but there's so many ways. And let's say LinkedIn, you can go in and do your marketing, meet these people for free. Everything's free right now. You can learn so much. Agency Access, APA. There are companies that have ways for you to learn what you got to learn, even if you're not at that place of learning it yet by yourself. You can, and it sets you up with there's all these portfolio showings. Go get them. I'd really, APA for sure for photographers in that level, and it's a national organization. That's what they want to introduce you to, the people, the situations you're going to deal with, how to make an estimate, who to talk to if you need a lawyer, blah, all of it.
Okay, so some great resources there. We'll look them up.
But let me answer that. Sorry, the other question is, how do you get your book ready? And then you're going to get a rep. They're going to come after you. If your book is ready and you're ready to work and you're marketable, yes.
Okay, what makes for marketable work?
Can you see it on a job? For a print, can you see it? A video, can you see it? When you're on the website for a company, does your work reflect that? I always call it hyper reality. Nowadays with Instagram, hyper reality is a less produced, more real, authentic. I'm telling you, every creative call, and I can tell you what a creative call is, I hear real, natural, organic, authentic,
yes,
genuine, relatable, believable. These words, that's all we're hearing right now. So your work has to fit within today's produced, yet not looking produced. And really just look around, do your research, and look up photographers who are really successful. Go on workbook.com and look up photographers. It's quite easy. Look at why are they working? Why are they on here? Check out who are their clients? Go look. I feel like all this information right now today is so much easier than when I started 20 years ago. It's right there and it's free.
Right.
I have a question about that. So I mean, you mentioned, okay, a big part of this is having a very broad presence of your work, whether it be on Instagram or other properties, but are there sites specifically where reps are looking for these photographers directly? You mentioned LinkedIn. I think that's probably one of the great ways. But is there anything else that you'd recommend?
Yeah, there's a really big list, and I can give you this list later. I'll send it somewhere. But like Found is another one. Boulevard is another one. There's all these, and I said Workbook. Wonderful Machine is huge and very successful. They show photographers' work, and you get yourself on there. You get your stuff listed out there, not so people can steal it and use it for free.
Wait, don't get ahead of me. Okay. Don't get ahead of me.
But they can see it and probably copy it. But anyway, it's out there to be shown for your own marketing and advertising purposes.
Okay.
Yeah. But also LinkedIn, as I said, get on there and go ask these people. Just put in your favorite, put in Nike and go look up who can you find on Nike and talk to them. People are so human these days. There's like this human element that is, I think, back in our world of photography and advertising.
Okay, so I want to say something, and then I want to tie it back to a comment that you made earlier. It does sound like it's a situation of catch-22. If your work is good enough for commercial work, then you can get a rep. But to get a rep, you have to do work that's good enough to get commercial work.
Right.
And so that can be kind of difficult. So the thing that you mentioned before, I think you called it tests?
Testing.
Can
and
you tell
assisting.
us what testing is? Okay.
Assist to get on the jobs that you want to get on and just see how they do it. What are they shooting? And testing. For people, every level, testing is so important. I think more now today than ever because of the word content, which is our industry's huge word right now.
Okay.
Content. I'm going to jump around, so bring me back. But channels of platforms. There's so much that clients need, and this is what's changed it right now. They need so much more. They need video. You're not just a photographer. They need video. They need... It's endless what they need. So many more images in one day. Retouch, not retouch. Everything under
behind the scenes.
And it's one day, basically. And you're doing so much more. Where was I going?
Testing.
And that's why we got to test. I have social media we have to put it out there. I need stuff. And people want to see what you're doing. They want to authentically like get to know you and grow with you because this is your audience. They're watching you on Instagram or on your website, everything, blog, anything. You have to keep staying in front of them more than ever. So you need to test. And you rediscover yourself constantly growing to become where you're going to be. It used to be kind of a successful older photographer had to rediscover themselves after 10 years.
Right.
Now, I got to say, like, it's every month. It's just a
Wow.
part of you got to keep growing and growing.
Okay. We were talking a little bit about, let me see here, I'm going to pull this up. When you talk about testing,
Yeah.
this is a concept that I've shared with our audience, and we don't call it testing per se. I just say to them, look at the work that you'd like to get, and look at your own work and close the gap. And the way that you get there is you kind of do work that's going to get you noticed and feels like it's on par. Like if it's marketable, if it feels like, if it's real, those things help out a lot. Now, I happen to have Instagram up, so I'm going to show you something here. My good friend Toby Peterson, and I feel like Instagram is the platform for image makers. Photographers should have and do have a distinct advantage over other normal people. Yet his social media following, and I'm going to call him out here, is at 338 followers, and that's kind of dismal considering the quality of images that he takes. And he and I have talked about this before. Now I'm going to flip over here to my other friend, the guy who used to work here, who got his image picked up by Apple. Andrew, 39,000, almost 40,000 followers, and he's not a traditionally classically trained photographer, but look at the kind of content he's pumping out on a regular basis. So let's talk a little bit about this. You say like in today's marketplace, clients are already looking for you right now.
Right.
So we got to make it a little easier for them to find you. You have to share, you have to be consistent, you have to give, I think you have to produce a lot more content.
Yeah.
So do you have anything that you want to say about photographers and what they need to do?
Yeah. Could you go to another?
Yes, which one?
Instagram is Jeff Stockwell.
Okay, give me a second, I'll pull it up.
He, to me, he's one of the best. He knows what he's doing, and he coordinates it. It's all like on purpose, and it all matches up. It's very professional. And at the same time, as I was saying, the human element today, you get a sense of him. You get a feeling of him. Like if you look at his picture, probably on the top of that, it probably looks like, it kind of looks like his images. It's him. That's a, I was going to say moneymaker. That's a successful photographer, moneymaker. It's genuine. It's him. So put yourself, not just what you love to shoot or what's making money, what's the trend right now, but make sure it's you. Shoot what you love. Be in your book. Be a part of your portfolio.
It's a reflection of you and your personality, your beliefs and values.
Yeah.
It's not just the slick, really hyper-produced images that you create for your clients.
Right.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to say about that?
I guess you could go to mine, SternRep,
Okay.
and then ask SternRep. I feel like we ought to all get really creative right now. The world is changing. We don't really know what's up. Where is this going? I feel like all photographers are it used to be the structure, the system of very, experienced. That's how you get there. You pay good money, you learn, you go to school, you buy serious equipment. But now, who's getting jobs? Inexperienced photographers who equipment is not expensive. So people can do this. Because of the Instagram look, we're a different world. And we, even Chris, you and I, we have to get more creative. And that's why we're doing this interview, right?
Right.
We're marketing, but we're in a creative style that feels right to us. We're just putting ourselves out there.
That's right.
And I can second that. I mean, I personally had an experience just this past weekend, and I had a great opportunity to shoot for Nike at the All-Star Weekend. And I feel like my Instagram presence and my online presence hasn't been that great. I think I could do a lot better. But to your point, I had some really good friends who put me in that position and connected me with the right people. So the personable aspect is such a huge part of that, and that led me to meeting one of the creative groups. So shout out to Victory.
Hey, easy there. Easy there with
Yep.
the shameless plug here.
Shameless plug here,
Easy
but
there.
I just want to say thank you to them for putting me into connection with that Nike shoot. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, thanks for that story. Jeez. All right. Hey, let's jump to YouTube and Facebook and see if they have any questions. Molly, are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I've been
But
pulling
wait,
up.
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mark, that was good because again, I keep saying LinkedIn. I don't work for LinkedIn. You just make connections. It's all about connections. Follow them up. Go for them. Send them a present. Send them a gift. Do what you got to do. Take them to lunch. It's so friggin' simple. It's so human nowadays. I went to a dinner last night and it was heartwarming and we both felt it. We're being real, but we're being a little more human than just social media.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
I have a couple
now
questions.
officially, let's go to the YouTube, Facebook questions. Go ahead.
Some people have been asking, are you repping people from outside the United States? And do reps do that? Like rep internationally?
Yes, and I actually I'm talking to some people. So yes, it is happening.
Okay. That was one that
I have
kept
another
coming.
question here.
Yeah.
I noticed that everybody you represent is a man. Any females?
I used to rep the wonderful Christina Peters for food. So, and we have a great relationship. Food just kind of took a change in the industry. But I have repped, and I repped Sharon Montrose for pets, and she's fantastic. So I have repped women. There are women out there. I think there are more men, or maybe I'm wrong on that, and it just happens for me.
Okay. Back to Molly.
Someone asked, if I upload my content to the internet, how can I legally protect my work from being used somewhere else?
People do put their copyright, their little symbol on it, but I think that does not look professional. I think there are ways. I'm not techie, so maybe someone else here knows that.
There's a way. You do digital watermarking, and you can do that inside Photoshop. And I remember an Adobe person talking about this, that you can print the image out, scan it in, and print it out like 15 times, and the digital watermark is still embedded within the image somehow. This is the miracle of technology. But I do want to talk about this a little bit. And this is one of my gripes here, Andrea. So this is the first bone of contention I'm going to just throw out there, is that photographers make it really difficult to share their images. I understand they're very protective of it. A lot of photographers use some kind of flash or embedding technology. So if I'm bookmarking somebody to say, like, I really would like to hire this person in the future, they seem to go out of their way to make it very hard to even to grab an image, even though I can simply do a screen capture. So that, to me, is a point of frustration and annoying. So it's like, I'm just going to move on. Can you talk about that a little bit?
It's always been a big battle in our industry, and some people ask us, can I use your image for a spec? If they need high-res images, that's a pain in the butt. So often we won't do that, although we want to be up for the jobs. It's not an easy question because you don't want people stealing it. So you don't want to put high-res images out there. I don't know if that answers the question.
But okay, let me just look at it like this. If your work is good enough for somebody to steal, I think that's a good sign, first of all. And because there's a lot of crappy images out there, we know that. All you have to do is go on Google. But if somebody steals your image and you see it, that's a great way for you to sue them and make money? No? Like, what are we afraid of here?
Well, who's going to take the time and the money to sue Google, or whatever?
Well, cut to my camera? I would. I would. If you steal our work and you use it for profit, I will stop you really fast, and I've done this before. So this is where I think it's like, here's the conundrum, all right? I'm trying to get my head wrapped around this. This is like where I'm pacing around the room like Brad Pitt in 12 Monkeys, in a straitjacket. Like, how I'm going to resolve this in my mind. I want people to find me. I want amazing reps like Andrea to find me. I want clients to find me, yet I'm not going to share any of my images. That doesn't click with me.
I'm not saying don't share your images. Put them out there, but not in a high res so they can't really use it for something big. But I do have a story, but I cannot say who the company was.
Okay.
A photographer came to me and said, hey, this huge company is using my images with no usage rights.
Right.
That expired. I then said, I got it. Let me handle it. And I didn't know who to go. The process of finding them is really difficult. Like, who do you talk to? On a big company, I found the person mostly through trial and error, asking around. I did the negotiation, not a lawyer. I wonder, I think I probably got more for that photographer than a lawyer would have, I think. So you don't have to sue them. You don't have to afford.
Right.
A lot of people can't afford a lawyer.
Right.
That's why I think a rep could help.
Right. So I imagine you rolling up your sleeves. Look, I'm going to go bust some heads right now. I'm going to find out who this person is. And you
It's
show
exciting.
up, knocking on their door. It's like, I believe you're using my client's copyrighted image. So we can work this out the nice way.
Yep.
And we can negotiate something and we can make this go away.
Yep.
Or we can get really contentious and I can hire an attorney and sue you to burn your company down. Let's not go there. I'm not saying that that's the first course of action, but if somebody uses our image without our consent, I'm going to come after you. And just out of curiosity, how much money did you get?
I don't know that I'm allowed to say.
You can't say? We don't even know anything about this person.
I know. I just feel weird. I like to keep everything very private for people.
Okay.
It was
A range?
okay. Range. It was between 30 to 50 grand.
That is significant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where? Hold on. Let me just do this. Yeah, there we go. Right. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
And so now I'm sure there's a couple of people, their heads and their mind are blown right now thinking, how is it possible that you went in and got $30,000 to $50,000 for an image due to a copyright infringement? That's why I'm thinking to myself, go ahead and steal our images. I'm going to call Andrea and she's going to go after you. This
I
is
would
the way
like
it's gonna
that.
work.
Please call me.
Right?
Yeah.
So
but I
guess-
got to answer how I
Yes.
did it really nicely. And that's my method. I'm just really nice.
You kill them with kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see that in you. I like to kill them with brass knuckles, but that's a different
All
story.
right, that's
for a
you.
different time. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I want it to be amicable, and I want it to not be contentious. Only if necessary we go there. If you don't take me seriously, you blow me off, you're totally disrespectful. I try once, I try twice, and you're just gonna ignore it. It's time to get legal on you. Okay.
But I think they're just as scared and wanting. They didn't know it. They didn't do it on purpose. I don't think.
They didn't steal the image on
No,
purpose.
No.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
All right, that's good. You're very kind.
I'm very
soul.
kind,
You
yeah.
very are. You give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. You know what? We were talking before the show, and I had asked Andrea a bunch of questions about where she's from. She's from New York. She came to LA. She's been here for a long time. And how is it that she became a rep in the first place? So this is like my best version of Quentin Tarantino's like nonlinear editing. We'll go back to the beginning now, right? Now that
Okay.
I have everybody leaning in, hopefully.
All right.
And they want to
Lean
know
on it.
more about who you are. So how did you become a rep? And can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this?
Yes, love to. I went to Brooks for a year, and I realized after a lifelong love of photography, I knew in high school or even before, I just loved it. So I went to Brooks, and then I thought, oh my God, what now? I don't love it. I couldn't like be creative and at the same time talk to talent. I couldn't instruct talent what to do. I wasn't a director who could talk and be creative at the same time. So I thought, oh my God, I'm freaked out because that's all I love to do. I love photography and I don't want to be a photographer. What does that mean? I don't want to be an assistant. What does that mean? So I moved to Seattle and I started talking to the head of the ASMP.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Doug Landreth. And he gave me advice. I wrote out this list of who I am. What do I love? Who am I? I love money. I love talking about money. I love negotiating. I love sales. And I love managing people. I love connecting. I love making best friends in like 1 minute. I love it. And I have that thing about me.
Mm-hmm.
It's my passion. And so he read this list and he said, oh, you're a rep. I was like, oh, what's a rep? And he
Hey,
told
that's
me.
like the best career counselor ever.
Ever.
Oh my gosh.
But I think by putting together this list of who I am and what I love, it's kind of easy. You give it to someone in the business and they direct you. So I listened to him. I became his rep. And then from there, I learned I really want to start my own company. Repping was it.
Wow.
I honestly, please don't tell anyone out there that I would rep for free. Because I love it.
Your secrets.
Please don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone.
I'm going to work on that slide right now. Okay. So you must have been, like, selling must be in your DNA because here
Yeah.
you are, like, I don't know what to do with my life. Next thing you know, you got yourself a job and a career.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen?
But and believe me, we had pagers at the time. We didn't even have internet. We had telephones,
Yep.
and I would call people
It's
and
like two
meet
cans.
with people.
You're like,
Yes.
hey,
that
can you
was-
hear me?
They went
Can
20
you hear me
years
now?
ago.
Yeah.
So it was really different, but it took the same skills, the same bonding with people, talking business, talking money, marketing. I never took a marketing class. I wish any advice I could have given myself back then, take business. I have a degree in sociology.
Mm-hmm.
Not very helpful, I guess. I mean, it's groups of people, but business, learn business. Everything's a business.
Okay, Molly,
Yes.
question?
All right. While she's looking for, I have one. How do you connect with clients?
Well, I've said LinkedIn probably 17 times.
Yeah. Other than, I mean,
Other than, they call me. They know sometimes they see me. They Google search. Getting Google Analytics good is a great idea. How do I connect with clients? Last night I had dinner with one. You can send them things. You just kind of get creative. That's the whole thing. Creative imagination has to be huge bumped up right now. Like we have to figure this stuff out. There's no answer to this question. Whatever you're good at, do that. If you're not good at meeting with people, don't meet with people. And that's against what a lot of people are going to tell you. But use your creative imagination. Send them a postcard. I once received a letter, a card, a handwritten note. Yeah, whatever works.
I have a question. Do you think photographers will need less reps in the future?
Yes. I hate to say it.
Oh,
I know.
what are you saying?
Please don't tell anyone I'm saying this.
My goodness.
I don't think we're needed the way we were, but we're still needed, especially in certain industries for certain people. If a photographer loves talking money themselves and they do a lot of their own marketing and they know how to do it and they're already doing really well, a lot of those people these days don't need reps. If I could get them more money, I would hope that they would use me. But someday, and with social media, like influencers, I don't know that they, unless they don't want to negotiate for themselves, and unless they need help, like a team partnership. I like to team up with my photographers. What are you doing? What are you testing? Where are we? What are you saying on the social media? What do you? Where do you want to go with this? Who do you want to work with? You know, I like that. Some people don't. Some photographers don't need that.
Okay.
I got one. So you represent a lot of photographers. How big is video for your business, and do you
Good
represent
question.
videographers?
Very good question. I don't rep videographers, but now all my photographers do video. And that's the way it is. That's what I was saying about more. Client needs for all their platforms, more. Video is a huge part of that. So every photographer basically kind of right now needs to do video.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's a close cousin to photography because most DSLRs now shoot video, and you already know all the lighting. Some of it changes if you shoot with strobe; it's a little bit different, but it's a pretty natural transition. I've heard of photographers shooting on the red camera, shooting video, because then they can go back in and grab a frame, especially when it's more of a lifestyle storytelling editorial thing. So there's natural affinities there. And so are some of your photographers embracing this, or are they resisting this idea?
I think everyone is going to resist it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on most jobs, when it comes up, you either do it or you don't get the job. It's a very young thinking attitude that has to be today. This creative imagination, this young thinking. Doesn't matter how old you are, just think young and think, yes, opportunities, open the door. Video, great, I'll do it. Shooting more images faster, learn how to do it. Learn. Remove the lighting that we used to have. Remove how technically perfect each one image was. Now look at Instagram. That's the look. You got to stay fresh. But also you don't want to just follow trends. Will video always be a trend? I think so. I
agree.
I don't know if it's so much like, even if I would even consider it a trend. It's just we are consuming more and more content. We have this insatiable appetite for media, and so you just want to be able to give people as many options to consume the media as possible. So you have the beautiful glossy images that somebody might retouch for a week and a half, and you also have kind of more ephemeral stuff like behind the scenes videos, documentation. We talk a lot about this. Austin Kleon's book, Show Your Work, is to document your process, become a good documentarian of your own work to grow your audience. Okay, what else we got? Otherwise, I'm going to get into some controversial stuff, you guys. It's about to happen.
Someone, Cesar, says, so when a client confronts you saying they have X amount, of dollars and they find out that you charge someone else a less amount of money.
Ooh.
What do you say to that?
Wait, say that again?
So
How do you justify when one client comes to you and they know what you charge somebody else and you're charging them a different price?
Well, how do they know?
Word on the street. Let's just pretend like they know. Let's just pretend they know.
Hopefully no one knows what you're charging. That's top secret.
okay.
So help me. How do I answer this, since I'm very linear in that way? They don't know.
They don't know.
Let's just say they do know, though,
Okay.
because this is the okay.
How do
I
you
know
explain it?
Let me give you some time to kind of process and
Yes.
think. So I know how to. We do this. We just stretch this out. Okay.
Okay.
So here's the thing. A lot of people in the creative community are fearful of this, that they charge a client X dollars for a logo, or a photo, or a video, and then they get referrals. So naturally, that information is out in the real world. And another client comes, and now they've grown, they've changed, and they want to charge more, but they're afraid that they can't ask for more now because somebody's going to find out and they're going to get caught in a web of lies and deceit. I don't agree with this at all, but I just want to hear your take on this.
Well, I would never lie. If they do know, then you own it. Usage is one part. What are they using it for? If it's a bigger usage, that's a good reason. It was a lot of shots, so I had to charge a little more for that. Or you're asking for a little more, so I'm going to charge you a little more. You're asking for quicker deadline, rush. There's so many things that go into the price that you got to be able to think of something. The props were more expensive. Find some part of it that.
Right. My response was like, no two clients are the same. No two situations are exactly
It'll take more
the same,
time.
right? So you're not the same as your competitor. So that's why it's not the same price. And hell, I'm better today than I was 2 days ago, so that's why it costs more.
Value.
I have another quick question. I
Okay,
think.
let's do it.
What's the difference between a rep and a manager?
Ooh.
I don't know any photographers that have managers, but I know in acting, like they'll have a manager and an agent.
Right.
To me, my job, and they charge, one charges 15%, one charges 10%. I charge 25%. I'm both. I feel like a manager. I do. And
No,
an
I think
agent.
you are.
Yeah.
I think you are.
manage them, their
You
career.
do. And I know this just from talking to Toby, in that you'll say like, hey, we need to do more liquids. I can get us more work, and there's an area here for an opportunity. So next thing you know, Toby's shooting a lot of tests with liquids, and you're getting him liquid jobs, right?
Right.
So this is not just you going out to sell what he has. You're also seeing a need in the marketplace and
Yeah.
a little prodding, a probing, and you're like, we got to do this. We have to do this.
And that's another good part about a rep. Hopefully we have a, sense of what's going on because of other things we're hearing. Other photographers are bidding on stuff. We know what's happening out there. We take people to lunch. We ask them, our clients, what's happening? What are you doing? So one more part, a good part of a rep.
Okay, now what I want to do is get into the slightly more touchy subject. I want to talk to you about challenges facing photographers today. We're seeing changes that are happening faster and faster in the consumption of media and the downward pressure on artists and what we create. So I'm sure photographers are not insulated against this. So I want to just talk a little bit about, now we're looking forward, what is happening, what are the challenges that you're seeing for photographers, and what do we need to do?
Well, people want so much more in one day, and there's no time given for the production part of it to happen. Everything is so increased massively of what they need and how quickly. So that's a big challenge, and sometimes production-wise, it's not that possible, but somehow if the client demands it, we have to make it possible, hire the right people, get the right producer, if it's that kind of budget that you can get a producer. If not, learn yourself how to shoot video yourself so you don't have to hire someone else. Use the kind of cameras you can. Again, get creative. I say that with a question mark.
And when you say they need more, is it so they need more outside of photography? So you mentioned video. What else is that more? Is it all of the platforms? I imagine there's more work requested for things like Instagram stories and Facebook and all the other social platforms. Is that what constitutes this increasing demand?
It's everything.
Okay.
If there's talent on the job, is it a car, is it environment? There's something we used to call guerrilla style, where we would just go shoot. And do you get a permit? Maybe you don't. You have to move quickly. Do you have a second shooter going on? So you're shooting video and stills at the same time. It's a lot of, depends on the job, but it's bringing in a lot more into one situation.
Got it.
Have you ever had to convince one of your photographers to charge more?
Yes.
And how did you go about doing that?
Good question.
That is a good question. I'd say at the beginning of our careers, I'd have to be more of our careers together, our relationship. I'd have to be more explaining to them and getting their approval. This okay? And they might say to me, it's a little too high. Once we start to trust each other, I like to do that by myself, and I don't really involve them. And I know when they would think it's too high, but the best part of my job and my situation is to come back when we get the job and say, look what you made.
Yeah.
And shock them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so on the flip side of that, do you get in a situation where you're bidding pretty aggressively for a thing and then you don't get it, and then the photographer says, well, we should have done it for less?
Yes.
And so how do you deal with that?
If they were wanted on the job, the client will come back to us and tell me. And I make that's my goal too when I'm negotiating, is to make them feel they can talk to me. If we're too high, they're going to let me know. And I have gotten, you were so high that I didn't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a risk. It's kind of a gamble. And you
Right.
got to feel it out as you go.
Okay. So here's what I'd like Dr. Stern's advice on here, if I may. A lot of creative people feel like if they ask for what they're worth, they run the risk of alienating the client, so they start to do this thing where they negotiate against themselves. And that's what I'm hearing. So do you have any advice for people out there that are listening to this now? It's like, I don't have a rep. I'm not on the global stage. I'm not there yet. And yet they're struggling with this very concept that they're going to underprice their work. And this contributes to the demise and erosion of the creative community altogether. And we'll talk about that in a second. But do you have any advice for these people?
I've often heard from art producers who I negotiate with and at agencies, and they say a low bid, a low ball bid, that's the worst. You look like you don't know what you're doing. Really important not to be too low.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, to be too high is better. And that, the way I was saying before, this morning, I asked the question. You give them a range and you ask the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe one of my biggest secrets. Please don't tell anyone.
Okay.
Is to ask in a question format, is it this amount? Is it around this amount? Am I too high at this amount? And I always let them know, look, I just don't want to be too high. So is 20 grand way past your limit? Because I don't want to lose this job for this photographer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to work.
Mm-hmm.
You get more information if you ask a question and put a number. Let them say yes and no. If you want them to give you an amount, you're not going to get it.
Right. So in a situation like this, are you doing this via email or on the phone or in person? How are you?
Both.
Okay.
Email and phone.
Okay, email and phone. So how you would literally write, am I too high
Yes.
thinking this?
Yeah. I'd
No.
rather talk on the phone. I get
Yes.
much more. My method of sales is to listen.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to work for me. I put out a little question. They want to speak. People want to connect. They want to help you. You just got to listen. Give them the space.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want to set you up for something. So first, I'm going to give you a little time to think about it. I would love to do role playing with you where you're you and I get to be a buyer. And I'm going to be a little tough.
Okay.
Like I'm an agency
Bring it.
art director, okay?
Bring it on.
Because rarely do we get somebody else on the show that does this for a living. Usually I'm the person trying to sell, so this is going to be real fun. But before we do this, and I think maybe, Mark, you can be the buyer. You want to be the buyer or you want me to be the buyer, Mark?
Let's have you do it.
Okay, so what I wanted to just point out really quickly for our audience, because we're trying to educate and kind of elevate everybody here. I love the way that Andrea phrased it. Am I too high by thinking this amount? Because you're asking a no question and not a yes question. This is a technique that master negotiator Chris Voss talks about. He says people are very wary of asking yes questions because they know how this works in society. Oh, are you for saving the planet? Do you want to see our more animals? And then the third is like, will you donate to our cause? So people are very reluctant to say yes. But he says like one way to flip the brain and how people think about this is to ask a no question. So you're coming in saying, am I too high at this price? So they're going to say, no, you're not too high. And you can get buy-in much quicker. So I love that. And I just wanted to point that out, you guys.
Good one.
All right, here we go. I'm an art director. I'm at an agency, and we're going to talk about something. How nice or mean or how aggressive do you want me to be? And then we'll play it off that.
Be your natural self. Go.
Hold on. Let me get the knives out. Now we're going to go. All right. So I'm an art director. We're going to talk about Toby, okay?
Okay.
So we'll pretend like I'm looking at Toby's work.
Great.
Okay. So Andrea, I looked at Toby's work. I think he's good for this campaign for Porsche. What's it going to cost what's it going to cost?
Well, hi, Chris. Is that your name?
Yes, it is.
Pleasure to meet you. Toby's so excited. This is his favorite car. You won't believe this.
No way.
He has one.
Really?
No, I'm role playing.
I thought you said you never lie.
I'm really nice.
Keep going. Let's keep going. Back to the scene. Okay.
Back to this.
Yeah.
Toby would love to shoot this with you. So, however, I would love to know, just so you know where we start here, he'd love to shoot this for you.
Okay.
So, and I know a rep can be a little intimidating and we come in a little high. So please know that that's not my goal here. So, how many shots is this again?
I think we need like 5.
5 shots.
Yep.
And they're in the studio?
I don't know. I need some guidance on this. I'm not sure. I see a
Okay.
lot of his work is in the studio, but I need some guidance.
Okay. So it's a 1-day shoot with 5 shots of a Porsche.
Is that realistic?
No, but for this drill,
Okay.
yes. Okay. So it's a 1 day. And what's the usage again?
We're gonna run it in for print, 3 different media buys for different magazines in the United States, like GQ, Wired, and Fast Company.
Is it for what, 6 months, a year, 3 months?
I think we're gonna run it for 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how big the images are going to be in these magazines?
I think it's gonna be 1 image. It's gonna be like full bleed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 shots in 1 image.
Yeah. So we're gonna need. It's a campaign, so we need 5 different shots and 1 image per ad.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, since it's a 1 day, and do you know your budget on this?
You know, I don't. I'm kind of looking for you, and I know every photographer's different. Their pricing's different. Can you
Yeah.
help me out here?
I mean, normally, and please, again, I don't want to freak you out here, but normally something like this could be $100,000.
Woo!
I know. That's a lot.
Oh my gosh.
So if we came in like $50,000, does that sound like you and your client would approve that?
Let me think about that. I think 50 sounds a lot more palatable.
Okay.
I'm gonna need to circle back with the team.
Are we bidding against other photographers?
I'd like not to.
Great. We'd like that too. Well, I know Toby would love to do this, so I will get you a bid for, should we say, $45,000?
I think that sounds really good.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And then again, if you hand this into your client and it's too high, you just let me know.
Okay. Well,
Okay?
I appreciate
Because he
how
wants to shoot this with
flexible you are,
Yes.
and it's cool that Toby owns a Porsche, and I'd love to
Yes.
talk to him about cars.
you. I think you should talk to him too. He's a great person to discuss this with you. He'll have some good ideas.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Looking forward to it then.
Pleasure
Thanks.
to meet you, Chris.
Likewise. And scene. Well done, guys. Let's give her applause. I like it. Woo! All right, people on the internet, you got your money's worth today. Okay, this is excellent. Now, I hate to just take it on such a wonderful high and just drag you into the pits, but I'm going to. I'm going to talk about this a little bit because you shared something with me. Zacharias, he produced this video and he talked about Unsplash, and he had the opportunity to, and Unsplash is not a stock site. It's a photo sharing site where photographers upload their images without getting credit, and anybody can use it for anything ever, whatever, no limitations, I believe. That's Unsplash kind of summed up. And it's founded, this is Zacharias here. You guys might see him. He has a YouTube channel. I highly recommend you guys look him up and watch his videos. He's very educational. He's got a strong point of view. And this is, I believe, his name is Michael Coe, and he's one of the co-founders of Unsplash and Crew, if I'm not mistaken. So the controversy goes like this. And Andrea, you sent this to me. So I felt like I had to watch it. Only later to find out you didn't watch it yourself. So Zach is a photographer. He's a professional photographer. And I can tell in the video he's angry and he's doing his best, and he's done a lot of homework, and he's having this conversation with Michael. Michael's very civil about this whole thing. He says, aren't you exploiting photographers? Aren't you worried that somebody that doesn't know what they're doing is going to have an image on Unsplash that doesn't have model releases or things clear, the things that normal professional photographers take care of, and somebody uses their images and gets sued, this whole thing's going to come tumbling down. And he said it doesn't seem fair that we're going to exploit the need and the desire for people to get exposure by doing this to them. And so I think that's the beginning of the conversation. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. And I just want to let the internet know, Andrea and I have talked about this before. I have differing points of view, so it might get a little contentious, but I want to kind of see where we net out and have this kind of rigorous debate about this. So Andrea, the platform is yours.
I think this is a really important conversation, especially for newer photographers getting into this, or the younger mindset. And honestly, it's my directors of operation, the wonderful Olivia, who found this and sent it to both of us. And she has a good point. And that's in her world. She's a young photographer, is to know, how do I get my stuff out there? And I know we were talking about that. This is one idea. I find it very unsafe because of my history, experience, business, negotiation is a part of usage. You pay for usage. So if someone can use your image for free, it's extremely dangerous to the ethics of photographers all over the world. It can really hurt everyone if this takes off. That's a big part of where I come from.
Okay. So I understand, and Zach in the video says, I don't want to sound like I'm like the cranky old man, like, kids, get off the lawn kind of thing. Like, maybe the time has come and the world has changed and there's a new world order. So he's trying to reconcile this himself, and he says this many times. He's a very articulate person. He's done a ton of research. But I was thinking about this. It's like, can we see, as a photographer, if you're an adult and you can make a decision about this kind of stuff, that it is hard to get attention these days. It's very difficult. And is it okay to make something as a loss leader? A loss leader meaning you give something away for free in hopes that you get something else. And the reason why I think about this is, on YouTube, we are giving away our knowledge for free for the exchange, and the exchange is value. I give people who are watching this show value, and then they give back to us. And it's kind of very open and egalitarian. It all kind of works, right? So I'm spending a ton of money. You can see there are 4 people in this room, excluding yourself, a ton of equipment and things that we're making for free for people to use and learn. They watch it in classrooms. They watch it on their own. This is how they go out and make money. What I get in return from them is I grow a community, so that when I ask them to buy a product or to support us by donating, say, $5 a month, there's over 500 people who do this. And this is the new world order that I'm seeing. So I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
There's a lot to say on this. I think the main part is, will it lead to other jobs? Or are you giving away something that satisfies what they need so they don't come back to you to pay for something else? And I think that's why we all do this. That's why I'm sitting here doing this with you, even though I really like you, Chris.
Aw.
There is
I don't have an all sound effect. I'm going to get one for next time.
There is a marketing, I'm getting publicity, and I'm just getting myself out there, which is that human marketing thing that we all need to do right now. Like, I'm doing Ask SternRep. It's on Instagram. Mm-hmm. It's to kind of build my brand, and it's something I enjoy. We're doing this because we enjoy it. So that's the question. Get your work out there, but will it lead to jobs? Will it lead to money? And if for some reason a photographer feels like that's how they got to do it, okay. But then there's that bigger picture of, how do photographers make money through the usage of their images? So people who are doing this are going against the thing that makes them money, that has been built to make it a professional career.
Okay.
You feel okay about that?
Okay.
I don't.
I have some thoughts on this, and I want to share this with you because my wife and I, we have these kinds of discussions all the time, in that we want to see a pretty linear relationship between effort and return. Like, we want to see cause and effect. I do this, and then I net this kind of client. And I have a different worldview on this. I think you do a lot of good in the world. It's like karmic equity. The more good you do, the more value you create in the world, the more it comes back to you. And I'll even point out to this part. You might have a photographer that is on your roster who's like, Andrew, why do I have to invest in reinventing myself every single month? That's beyond like reasonable. Why do I need to spend money doing test shoots all the time? Or if a client wants me to do a little extra before they hire us, why should I have to do any of that? And you can't, with a level of certainty, say to them, well, you're going to get more work, or I'm going to be able to sell you for this. There's no guarantees. But we know that if we don't do anything, we know what we're going to get. Right? So it seems like the argument is clear there. And I'm all for that. It's like, yeah, Toby, do another test shoot. What are you doing? Why are you working on your motorcycle today? Right? Because is that going to get us work or not? Maybe, maybe not. So in the same way, I don't necessarily think that it has to be so transactional that it's a one-for-one kind of thing. And this channel would not exist. This channel would not have over 240,000 subscribers if I went into it thinking, how do I convert this into money? And to tell you the truth, the reason why we have a big audience today is because we went away from that model. Almost everywhere else you go on the internet, somebody creates something of value, and then they stop the video right where you need to learn the thing you need to learn. And then now you have to go and buy and enroll in the course. And this is how we did the channel in the beginning. Jose and I, we would make videos where we knew we were trying to sell something in the video and making of it. So not that many people tuned in, not many people shared, not many people talked about it because they're being sold to. And that's when I said, let's stop doing that. I want no more advertising. We're not going to self-promote. I just want to give value away. And it is now this very fast-growing company. So this is what I kind of think of it, and something that I lecture on quite a bit. The age of the classical artist, where you're a graphic designer or photographer or an illustrator, that age is almost gone, if not already gone. In the new age, you have to be able to build community around the things that you make. And we see a lot of very successful people, yourself included, give away value. Like SternRep has 1,000 followers. You're trying to help teach and educate a community of photographers or creative people what it is that you do. And you're giving away your knowledge for free. You're on this show sharing some of your quote unquote trade secrets with the world. In that, I think what happens is I'm some young photographer out there or an older photographer. I see what you do and I'm like, wow, I never knew the power of a rep. And she seems really cool. And she has a nice approach that I think I'm going to get along with. So they're going to reach out to you. But there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. And this is why I have zero problems with Unsplash, because I myself and Zach himself is producing videos at a very high cost to himself to build community. Now, you're going to say this, and I know the argument's going to come back at me. Well, nobody can take our videos down and repurpose and reuse it, and we can come after them, and we might come after you. That's totally true. Whereas Unsplash, you can use it, and then that's the whole premise of the site. You can grab it, use it, credit, not credit it, sign in for an email account or not. There's no way to track anything. But if I'm a person that's living in, say, Egypt somewhere, and I don't have access to all these things, and I can't make videos, I can't edit, I can't live stream, this is the platform. I can't grow my audience fast on Instagram. This is what I do. So why should we judge them on this? I think this is just the new world order, and I think it's here whether we like it or not.
Were you saying that, or was he saying that?
No, I'm saying it.
Oh, okay.
No, he's saying, I hate this. He wants to like punch a hole in the wall.
I meant was the Unsplash guy saying that.
Oh, no, the Unsplash guy he was very cordial, very businesslike. He just did his best. And I was like, dude, you could make a stronger argument. I'm like now fired up saying, let's have a debate about this.
Well, are you comparing like Unsplash to Ask SternRep on Instagram?
No, not at all. I'm just saying, like, all of us do different things to build community, to give value to our communities in the ways that we can. If I'm not an experienced rep, I can't do Ask SternRep, but I have an image, and I could say I can go out and shoot some still life, trees or dirt or whatever, some textures, and I can say this is going to be my lost leader. This is how I'm going to build some interest in what I do.
I think there's a couple parts to this. One is, does it fuel and motivate you? That's why I do Ask SternRep. I love it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I don't know where the idea came from. I don't know if it's really bringing any money, but it fuels me as a person and as a rep. It's my business to get invigorated and inspired. So that's where it works for me. I will, like Chris, as you're talking, I mean, I agree with you, and that's marketing. We're doing this because, and you get these followers because it's part of your marketing. It's awareness. It's branding. But Chris, if someone came to you and said, I want you to direct this for free for this company, and we're going to use it to make money, but we're not going to pay you, you'd say, yeah?
No, I would not say yes.
Isn't it
But
the same thing?
It's not even close to the same thing, because I don't consider this as the stock and trade of what I do. Or maybe it is. Like, I have courses, right? We sell courses, and so people might feel like, yeah, I've gotten a lot of value from this dude, and I just want to repay that somehow, and that's cool. Conversely, I wouldn't want them to download a course and share it for free, because that's illegal, first of all. But there's a very different distinction. Like, I willingly produce these pieces of content for people to share and to grow community. If somebody comes on a site and says, here's my image, use it for whatever you want. Hopefully, I'm on your radar now, and there are some really gorgeous images on Unsplash, I have to admit. Better than a lot of stock photography sites even. So now I'm starting to like figure out, oh, I need to look this person up. This is really good, right?
Right.
But maybe I'm a little more ethical than someone else. I don't know. Maybe I'm more fair-minded, but that's what you sign up for. I don't sign up for doing work for free. I don't sign up for producing products for people to steal. There's a big, big difference. It's about the willingness of the person participating in it.
But we're business owners. We have to control that a little bit. I mean, these photographers are putting their images out there to be used for free. Again, if it leads to more work, okay, I kind of understand that. I do understand that. Depends on your business model. What's going to bring you work?
That's totally true. So what I'm saying is, for the person who doesn't have a lot of different avenues for exposure, like say they have 200 followers on Instagram, they can't get in touch with you. Like I said, there's a handful of you and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of aspiring photographers. There is no funnel. So I just want to say, I don't want to judge you. You go in and you do this. And here's my biggest bone of contention here with Zach, and what he's saying is that if you are competing, like I'm a graphic designer, right? If I'm competing with designers on 99 Designs or Fiverr, I'm in the wrong business to begin with, right? So I never look at any of those people as competition to me. And if we start to feel threatened, I think we need to start looking in the mirror and saying, we're in the wrong business. There isn't enough difference between what I do and what they do, and that's a bigger problem than anything else. And I think what's happened, in terms of the erosion of the photography market to some degree, is the democratization of the tools. Technology has gotten a lot better. Everybody can get out everybody can go out and buy like $1,000 DSLR and start to be able to shoot 10,000 images that might take a photographer years to learn and craft and hone. We know that has shifted a lot. So it starts to make it harder to distinguish between a photographer like Zach or Jeff or Toby, although I don't agree with this, than somebody else that has been doing it for a relatively short period of time. These guys shoot at the highest level, so the analogy here might not be apropos, but it's becoming harder for people to tell the difference. So much so that you're saying your clients are coming to you and asking for that Instagram kind of amateur slice of life reality look. So the aesthetic is swinging towards more amateur style, right? Because it feels more authentic and real.
Yeah, they call it editorial. But there's so much to say on this, but if a photographer's at that stage where they feel the only way to get their stuff out there, they only have 200 Instagram followers, is to go on Unsplash, I'd say go to school. Be an assistant. Read these blogs I was talking about before. Talk to people. Go test. Get out there. Get a teacher. Take a class. I mean, there's so many ways to know you're not really ready to get jobs. If you're not getting jobs, do something about it. Deal with the issue instead of selling out what makes a photographer's business work across the board. And what about like the music industry? This is the same issue, right? We got to somehow pay for music. We used to steal it.
I don't steal it.
Well, it's all streaming for the most part now.
It is, but so here's where it goes again. Where I still buy music, and my wife looks at me like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Right? Because I feel like I need to support the artists that make the music that I love. But I also listen to something like Spotify, and I listen to it with ads, and because that's also a way that they get paid. So there's lots of different ways to consume content. And I'm not telling anybody to do anything unethical or illegal, but a site like Unsplash makes it ethical and legal to a degree, right? Because this is what we all signed up for if you do post an image on Unsplash, as is with Creative Commons and other kind of sites, right?
I just think there's a bigger picture.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's just that if we don't get paid for usage and people can steal images, or I'm sorry, not steal, if people can use images for free,
right,
we're ruining the business that we've created, and you're ruining the ethical standards that make it possible to make this a career.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think the buyer who is going to spend $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 on an image is going to forego hiring Jeff Stockwell for an Unsplash image? Is that realistic?
Yes.
What do you think? Really?
It could be, yeah. Sure. What's that website where they put their images on? Darn. A lot of photographers who aren't
Pinterest?
professionals.
No.
Is it for stock?
It starts with an F. All right. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
But there are ways that photographers can be found
Mm-hmm.
that are really cheap, and they will get hired. And people do look on these sites.
Mm-hmm.
Flickr.
Flickr.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony
Is it-
Lopez.
Yeah, Tony Lopez.
We have a really smart audience most of the time.
Tony, thank you.
All right.
So it's a bigger issue. I think it's much bigger than just this Unsplash website and the photographers that are doing it. It's like a bigger question, and who we want to be in this world. If you want to sell out what's created this system that makes people do this for a living,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it will hurt us, all of us.
Mm-hmm. So I just feel like, and I know I'm the crazy maverick here, the rebel without a cause, is that the tides come and it's really, you can't swim against the tide, and the tide is here. So a lot of people will sit around and kind of debate and reminisce about the good old days and say, oh, these young guys are ruining the industry. I just like, hey, this is the sign of the times, man. Reinvent yourself, like you said, but not reinvent yourself in like small increments. Like go big, go wholesale, change, adapt, do what you need to do to be relevant, to live a creative life. Our channel really is about that, to champion creatives and help them find a better way.
Yeah.
But we can't if we just hold on to the past. That's my opinion. I do want to share a little love with you. A little love here.
Love.
I think there's some previous boyfriends or something tuning into this.
Yes.
People are calling you like a lover smile, the queen debater,
Oh.
and somebody's saying, I'm so happy to see you again. I think that's for you.
Who's that?
A lot of, let me see here. It's going by kind of fast.
All right, never mind.
I just want, people are saying beautiful, hand clapping. I think it's all for you.
Someone said they love how honest you are.
I'm honest.
Yeah.
I thought of one thing there.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking before about the creative call. There's the creative call and the treatment. We're giving those away for free. I can quickly explain what they are.
Okay, please
Creative
do.
call, when you're bidding on a job, before we bid the job, we get on the call. I listen in, the photographer's talking to the creative. And they're, with enthusiasm, trying to discover what the job is about and getting all their questions answered, giving their ideas, their thoughts, and showing who they're going to bring to the table of the job if they get the job. Kind of selling themselves, but in a very genuine way. We're doing that for free. It's time. We're all like taking an hour of the day scheduling this. So there are things that we give away for free. Part of the job. Then they have to write a treatment, which is really hard. A lot of photographers should hire a writer. Absolutely. And a designer. And put together with images and samples. The location's going to be here. The wardrobe's going to look like this. Here's some samples of talent. My ideas for this. And it should be a little PDF, 1 or 2 pages or more. So, and these should look really professional. So you're selling yourself and you're giving away for free, but it's in terms of to get a job. That's my point.
Okay. I do want to share a few more comments here. David Breyer, the branding master, said, 100% agree with you. Spot on, Chris. And then Extorted, which I think is your ex-boyfriend somewhere, says, in the very next comment, disagree 100% with you, Chris. So there's a lot of polarization going on here, right? And then Extorted said, I never give away my secrets or help anyone else. I look after number one. That could be why the relationship did not work out, buddy. I'm just guessing here. Okay, somebody's saying live long and prosper. I can do that. You know what? I think it's time to wrap up the show.
Okay.
Andrea, I just wanted to ask you if you have any parting thoughts or burning things that you want to talk about or announcements you want to make before I do the show recap.
Ooh, announcements.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Chris.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I had a waiter last night. Is this okay?
Yeah, of course. It's live. Don't worry about
His
it.
name is Anthony.
Okay.
He was so nice, and he was talking about he wants to be a creative, and he's in a school right now in Long Beach. And the guidance counselor asked him, what part of the business do you want to be in? And he was like, I don't know. When do these people need to decide, in your opinion, which area of the industry they have to choose to be in?
Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, so there's a couple of things you're asking me there. Like, when I hear when, it sounds like an age thing, or maybe as it relates to when you go to school. I think the best thing that you can do is to kind of do the buffet thing, which is you go to a school that you like, that's reputable, and you go to maybe a grad show and you kind of sample like what it looks like. Maybe you go in thinking you're a photographer, but then you find out you want to be a cinematographer or a set designer or some other kind of visual art. And be okay with allowing you to change your mind. Realize there's a cost component to that, and that you might have to start over and spend more money, but if that's not an issue for you, that's totally okay. But in terms of an age, I put no limit on when you need to discover your heart. I think there's a story about Gauguin, who was like a married postal worker, and he would hang out in the French bistros and cafes and watch other artists and admire them, and so eventually he decided he's going to leave his family, his wife, and move to the Caribbean and become this painter. So I think this is like what you would consider like his midlife crisis. But then he became this wonderful painter. So I don't put an age on this, and I think to do so would be ageist.
I think my answer would be when you're ready, you'll know. Go research everything, and then you'll see it. You'll be like, oh, that's me. That's like how I became a rep. But I'd like to give a little advice. I wrote it down. Okay. Emotions, not to run the business. I was told that, and one of the best things I've ever heard. Your emotional world does not control your business. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Great book. I'm going to be scared to do so. I'm scared to do this interview, but I'm sitting here doing it.
Were you really scared?
Yeah, I'm not scared, but nervous. I'd rather not. But now that I'm here, I'm like, yeah, that was fun. Show your confidence. Open doors. Don't show that you're insecure or shy. Show your confidence. This is professional. Be a professional. Jump outside the box. There is no longer a box in our world with social media. Go create your own ways. And as far as your portfolio, consistency. A whole portfolio. One image does not make a portfolio. Big time. Consistency. The best, go look up, research photographers that interest you, and then look at their whole body of work as one. That's a great photographer.
Excellent.
That's great.
All right. So you've kind of stolen a little wind out of my sails here.
Uh-oh.
But I appreciate that. That's all good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the recap, and I'm just going to read back everything that I've learned from you today. All right, here we go, guys. And some of it is not totally accurate, but here we go. Full disclaimer. Connect with people. Become best friends in 1 minute. Leverage social platforms. Know your strengths and weaknesses, and then go all in on your strengths. Go all in, you guys. This is what Andrea did. She figured out she wasn't a great photographer per se, but she liked photography. She liked negotiating and money and managing people. She did that, and she has a wonderful career. Think young. Think yes. Constantly reinvent yourself, not like in a year or 5 years or 10 years, but every single month, because learning is growth. Feel the fear, but do it. You just said that. Open doors. Jump outside the box. One image doesn't make a portfolio. And consistency, yo. Consistency. Keep doing it over and over again. And nobody needs to know this, but she will rep for free.
There's the plug.
There it is.
I
now,
told you not to tell anybody.
No, I'm not going to tell anybody. Shh. We'll edit this part out later. Okay. Now, if you guys want to get in touch with Andrea, because she seems like a pretty cool person, here's how you get in touch with her. She makes it really easy. Her name's Andrea Stern, like firm. Stern, Stern. Okay. SternRep on Twitter, on Instagram, if you want to ask her a question or
ask questions.
Ask SternRep. Instagram, she has 2 accounts there. And SternRep on Facebook, it's really easy. And then SternRep.com. And there's a rumor that her roster may grow by a couple of people. Who knows? We'll wait for that announcement when it happens, okay? Andrea, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the show. I hope that you guys that are tuning in will continue the debate with me online, because you guys know I'm the master debater. Let's have the conversation after this. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys live tomorrow. I want to remind you guys, you're not defined by your past. The future is what you make it. See you later. Where is the titles?